Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 6 of Season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Pennzoil 400 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we're getting set for 38 laps of racing here at this mile-and-a-half D-shaped racetrack. But before we take a look at the starting lineup, as per, we got to take a look at how the point standings look coming into the race today. So after last week at California, Cole Deaver still leads the points, but by 2 points over Jonathan Zorlane. Third is Phil Parker, fourth James Qualls, fifth Rob Evans, sixth is Caleb Kilburn, seventh James Shelley, eighth Jake Baskinger, ninth DJ Curtis, and then 10th Jessica Sheldon. So still got a long way to go in the season for things to change as far as who's going to end up where in the point standings, because remember, person with the most points at the end of the season is deemed champion. But let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Caleb Kilburn and Jay Jefferson. Top 10, Joshua Collard is on the pole for today. Starting next to him is rookie Jordan Forbes. Row 2 will comprise of Jake Rogers and Benjamin Miles. Row 3, Jake Baskinger and the points leader Cole Deaver. Row 4, Anthony McCurry and Tim Fiegel. And then row 5, Logan Bradley and Carson Gunn. Let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas.
Drivers, start your engines.
All 40 drivers getting ready to get onto the racetrack to complete their only pace lap. Now, of course, with Las Vegas, it's probably the most difficult of the D-shaped mile-and-a-half tracks, similar to Kansas, Kentucky, and Chicago, and even Arizona if we ever go back to Arizona, which we might someday. But this is the most tricky one because not a whole lot of room for like 3-wide racing unless you can make it work. But typically, we do get some of the big wrecks coming through and off of turns 3 and 4. But lately here at Vegas, we've been able to have some really good racing. Will we see more of that this time around? We shall see as the pace car is pulled in the pit road. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what that means. That's right, it's time to boogity 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 go racing. Joshua Collard led the first lap, and his teammate, Jake Rogers, right behind him. However, Anthony McCurry is actually, the whole field's still pretty much right up here to the leader. And now we got a battle for the lead as here comes Jake Rogers to the inside of his teammate, Joshua Collard, with help from the 90 of Logan Bradley. Pretty much double wide throughout the whole field, which is really, really nice to see this kind of racing occur here at Vegas. But remember, the next time we race, which will be this Friday, we are heading to our second restrictor plate track of the season, which is Bermuda, which means we will be going back to the Truck Physics EXE package that we're running for restrictor plate racetracks. Right now, the 90 of Logan Bradley on with the race lead. Now, Logan Bradley's definitely looking for a break, considering here in the early going of the season, several bad finishes, including I believe the first 2 or 3 races this season he finished in the bottom 5. And this would be a really good confidence booster for that 90 team if they can come through with a good finish. Right now hanging on to that spot right behind, though, 3 wide for second. Looks like Michael Norman, Rob Evans, and Dylan Poteet at the time. And oh man, I got a bad feeling about this because, like I said, they could barely do 3 wide, especially here in turns 3 and 4 without wrecking. Let's see if they can get through clean, and for the most part they do. Smart driving on the part of those guys. Rob Evans led that lap, but here comes Carson Gum in the 19. But underneath is the points leader, Cole Deaver. Cole Deaver in that number 8 Mountain Dew Chevy for Michael Norman Motorsports. And speaking of Michael Norman, the 3 is right behind the 8, making it a 1-2 right now for M&M. As Deaver led that lap, here comes the 3 of Michael Norman, the Daytona 500 winner, might I add. Looking for his 2nd win of the season. But we got some new contenders. Charles Sanford is up here, and here comes the winner from Atlanta, Bradley Zordrager in the 96. As Michael Norman right now in the point standings coming into this race, he fell from 2nd to 12th after last week at California as he finished, I believe he finished in the bottom 5, which cost him quite a lot of spots. Right now running strong, but Jonathan Zorlane, who's 2nd in points, who came in only 2 points behind Cole Deaver, now has the race lead all to himself. But behind them, we got a huge fight going on for 2nd. Emmanuel Hartnett right now has that position, trying to follow in line behind the 41, but leaving the bottom open for Joey Parkhill in the 26 to make a move, followed by Kyle Matthews. Now, Kyle Matthews, I'm kind of surprised to see running as mediocre as he's been here in the first few races of the season. Currently scored 30th in the point standings. This would be a nice race for him to try and get back into the hunt in the championship. And just as I say that, here he comes for the race lead. Up to the front goes the 42, followed behind by his teammate and boss for Retro Racing Enterprises, Jessica Shelton, who recently, Shelton is starting to kind of re-emerge herself as a race contender as she moved up to 10th in the point standings after California last week. But up to the lead now is the defending series champion, Dylan Jacobs, who's looking to go 2 in a row for championships this season. Right now, the 78 24th in points, not off to a good start, but perhaps this could be where the momentum shifts in favor of the 78. But new contenders, James Shelley, who comes in 7th in points, who came close to winning a couple of races ago at the Pensacola Roval, and now trying to go underneath and might take the race lead now from the 78 of Dylan Jacobs. And following behind the 71 is his teammate Seth Cole for Backmarker Motorsports, followed in line behind by quite a number of drivers, including Cole Baker right there in that 18 car. Battle on between the teammates for Backmarker, Seth Cole underneath James Shelley, and is perhaps going to take the spot, and looks like he will in the turn 3. So far, this has been one of the best races we've seen all season as far as passing for the lead goes, because everybody's going full speed. Let's actually look at the speeds they're going. Doesn't even look like they're off the gas. They're just full throttling it, which is quite interesting for a racetrack like this being a mile and a half. And the fastest they go is about 196, and the slowest they go is about 192, 193. So yeah, they are not off of the gas. They are just going full tilt. And keep in mind, this is not the restrictor plate package we're running. It's just unrestricted, and they're just taking chances at just trying to run full speed as much as they possibly can. Phil Parker, who won last week at California, has the lead, but here comes Jordan Forbes. Jordan Forbes, coming into this race 32nd in points, has yet to score a top 10 this season. Perhaps today could be the day he makes that happen. As you can see, the whole field is very, very close together, almost like as if they're racing at Daytona or something like that. That's the way these guys are racing, which is really interesting for a racetrack like Las Vegas. But look at Jonathan Zorling try to go through the middle by himself. He might be able to get around to 77, but not the 10, his teammate Joshua Sekuli. Johnny Gardner led that time, but Trent Dunham is now up here into the picture. But you got to remember, these guys are going to have to come into pit road at some point today. If we stay green all the way through, these guys are going to have to pit at some point. And if they can make it past lap 19, then they would only have to pit once. Joshua Sekuli, a former series champion, with the lead. Oh, James McLeod and Matt McIntyre saved it and go to first and second. How in the world did that happen? Now that was a pass through the grass if I've ever seen one. It's like Matt McIntyre just gave McLeod a little shortcut boost to go up to first and second. That was amazing right there. That's got to be move of the race by far here so far today. As because of that, now the field's starting to get a little bit single file up here at the front, but now that's changed as Matt McIntyre now goes underneath for the lead, followed by the 09 of Raphael Leduc. Leduc comes into this race 13th in points, and he had a very strong performance last week at California. Right now up here in second and trying to take the race lead from Matt McIntyre in the 14. Double checking to make sure we were still green, and we are. Couple of Fords coming up here, actually quite a few Fords. Jake Rogers, who was up at the front early. DJ Curtis, who's been a surprising contender here in the early going of the season. He's up here to third. And then you got Joshua Collard right behind him. Both of the JR Empire Motorsports cars, the 43 and the 56, back up here at the front, or close to the front right now, as Raphael Leduc leads the way here at Vegas. Leduc continuing to hold the pace right now, battle for second. Joshua Collard, who led early in the race, trying to get back up there as he's now trying to clear the 4 of DJ Curtis for second. Excuse me if you heard that. But nonetheless, Joshua Collard, on the other hand, in points, 38th in points. He's not been off to a very good start for the guy who pretty much dominated the first half of last season. Right now, I'm not off to a very good start, but right now, having a solid run going here in the top 5. As here comes Phil Parker in the 00, the winner from California. Now Trent Dunham trying to take that spot, but as they're fighting behind the 09 of Raphael Leduc, it's just helping that 09 stay up at the front because of the clean air he has. And really, it's like almost ever since that near wreck happened between Matt McIntyre and James McLeod, who ironically, McLeod is coming back up here in second. After that pass in the grass almost crash between those two, and then Leduc going by, nobody's really been able to catch the 09, at least not yet. But McLeod, he's showing some speed, starting to reel in that 09 car. Trent Dunham about got the wall off of turn 4 right there. Raphael Leduc still leading the way, and the whole field still very much close together. But now the top 3 have broken away from the field. Leduc, McLeod, and Sekuli as Sekuli now is going to try and take second away from James McLeod. And they're coming into the pits. Just as I thought, pit stops were about to happen. Oh, but we got a crash! Zorleen gets turned up into the track. Caleb Kilburn misses pit road. I think that might be a caution because the 41 went back up the racetrack. Are we under caution? I'm not sure. No, we're still green. That's kind of surprising if you ask me. Because the 41 spun right back up the racetrack. I would have assumed NNSCRA officials would have brought the caution out for that, but I guess they decided not to. But yeah, that looked like a big cluster of cars trying to get on pit road at the same time, and a big miscommunication among several different drivers at spotter points. But it looks like the first car to come out of the pits of the first group was actually Melissa Alexander in the 6. Or no, maybe Phil Parker instead. Actually, it might have been the 00, not the 6. And then the first car to come out of the second group looks like it will be... I don't know, I think everything may have cycled around a little bit, but DJ Curtis and a bunch of others are still on the pit lane right now. As we're getting down to the wire here in this race, but last time scored, James McLeod was the race leader, but now because of these pit stops, now the field has really been scattered out and they're no longer in like a big pack. And I got no clue as to who the race leader is, and DJ Curtis still on pit road. Maybe he got damaged from whatever happened on pit road that involved the 41 and the 99. I'm not sure, but he's still on pit road. But according to scoring, James McLeod's still the race leader. But by how much now? Almost 3 seconds over the 00 of Phil Parker, who now has Benjamin Miles behind him. Benjamin Miles comes into this race 22nd in points. He had a great run last week at California, which moved him up there in points. Right now, up to second as he goes by the 00 of Phil Parker. But now that the field has been scattered, let's actually take a look at a full field rundown and see who's running where with only a handful of laps to go. James McLeod right now your race leader. Second is Benjamin Miles. Third, Phil Parker. Fourth, Kyle Matthews. Fifth, Cole Deaver. Sixth is Rafael Leduc. Seventh, Joshua Collard. Eighth, Dylan Jacobs. Ninth, Melissa Alexander. 10th, Trent Dunham. 11th, Joshua Sekuli. 12th, Jake Baskinger. 13th, Seth Cole. 14th, Jake Rogers. 15th, James Shelley. 16th, Matt McIntyre. 17th, Zachary Fitzwater. 18th, Carson Gum. 19th, Charles Sanford. 20th, Caleb Kilburn, who somehow made a slight recovery from that miscue on pit road. Meanwhile, 21st, Rob Evans. 22nd, Anthony McCurry. 23rd, Dylan Poteet. 24th, Jay Jefferson. 25th, Johnny Gardner. 26th, Jessica Shelton. 27th, Bradley Zordrager. 28th, Cole Baker. 29th, James Qualls. 30th is Chris Dollarton. 31st is Jordan Forbes. 32nd is Emmanuel Hardnett. 33rd, Joey Parkhill. 34th, Michael Norman. And then 35th, Dylan Young. Currently, the bottom 5 are Cody Lamas, Logan Bradley again, Tim Fiegel, and then Jonathan Zorling's a lap down, and then DJ Curtis 5 laps down, who I'm not sure is even back out on the racetrack yet. I think he still might be on pit road. In fact, let's actually take a look at that. No, he is back out onto the racetrack, although, man, that really cost him bad, and that's going to really affect him in the point standings now. 4 laps to go here in the Pennzoil 400 here at Vegas. James McLeod right now with a huge race lead as a result of pit stops. After the pack racing we had early on, now we're just single file and just spread out everywhere after perhaps some different pit strategies happened. Maybe some cars went with 2 tires, some went with 4. And I got a feeling McLeod was one of those who took 2 tires. Hence why he has such a huge lead right now over the 22 of Miles. But now they're starting to get into a bit of a pack formation. But it's a little too late for that, because with that lead the 51 has, these guys are going to have to hope the 51 really gets held up by slow cars, in which there isn't any, and hope that the 51 makes some major mistakes. But McLeod, he's a talented enough driver to not do that, as it's now 2 laps to go. Last time by 3.5 seconds separates first from second, as this pack from second on back starting to form, as Benjamin Miles leads that pack. James McLeod, meanwhile, running behind the last car on the lead lap, Tim Fiegel, coming out of turn 4, and the white flag is out for the Pennzoil 400 at Vegas. Margin of the lead last time by 3.63 seconds, so it continues to grow for the 51 of McLeod. And really off of turn 4, he could really just coast it if he wanted to, and he'd be scot-free to win this race, as we're getting ready to come off of turn 4 for the final time. Checkered flag waving. James McLeod wins the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas. Excellent pitch strategy on the part of the 51. Managed to get himself further out up at the front of the field, and wins with a huge margin of nearly, or of 3 3/4 of a second. Great job for that 51 team. Nearly wrecked at one point by the 14 of Matt McIntyre, and they both go into the grass and emerge up at the front at the top 2, which was impressive. And the 51 managed to get through with pitch strategy and pick up his first win of the season. Oh, wow. My apologies for that. Let's take a look at the rest of the results. Cole Deaver, the points leader, most likely going to stay the points leader, as he comes through with a phenomenal finish in second. Dylan Jacobs came out of nowhere at the end, got a 3rd place run. Benjamin Miles, another solid top 10 run for him in that 22 car, in 4th. And then Rafael Leduc gets another top 5 finish in 5th, which will really help him out in points. Same for guys like Jake Baskinger, who finished in 6th. Joshua Sakuli, who was a top 10 runner pretty much the majority of the second half, finishing in 7th. Pole sitter Joshua Collard comes through with 8th. Trent Dunham, great performance in 9th. And then last race winner Phil Parker follows up with a top 10 finish in the 10th spot. And meanwhile, there's your top 20, top 30. And then the bottom 5 for this week are Cody Lamas, Logan Bradley, Tim Fiegel, Jonathan Zorline, who came in 2nd in points, and then DJ Curtis. So tough break for a lot of guys who was hoping to keep momentum going or gain momentum. But speaking of momentum, that's the theme for the next track we're going to, which is going to be Bermuda this Friday. But until then, here are your results, rookie points, and regular points heading into Bermuda. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.